Well, hello everybody. Welcome along to the latest edition of Everywhere We Go, Kiddy and Massive. It's a Kidderminster Harriers fans podcast with me, Nick Hatton. Delighted to say with me today is former Harriers manager Russell Penn, the man who, alongside Jimmy O'Connor, brought us 4 years of great memories. Who could forget almost beating West Ham in the fourth round of the FA Cup and a first promotion for the club in 23 years. Russ, how are you? Welcome. Thank you very much for doing this. How are you?
Very good, thank you, Nick. You're the only one I do it for, you know that. And forward to it, mate. To be honest, I haven't spoke Kiddy in a long time. So um, yeah, I'm excited about the next half an hour to hour.
Yeah. How are you then? It's been 6 months pretty much, hasn't it, since you left? How has it been sort of getting over it and moving on?
Well, I think jumping into a job, you move on very quickly. In fact, you forget everything because you're full steam ahead with a new job. First time I've been sacked as a manager. First job I had, been there 4 years, had 4 fantastic years, loads of ups and downs. And when you come out of it, I think I went through relief, bitterness, satisfaction. I was happy, sad, but it was all microwaved into a month. And then because I'm so still 38 and energetic, I was ready for the next challenge within 2 to 3 weeks. And, just watching lots of games. And yeah, I was very proactive in not looking for work, but just being part of the game still. So I think I had every emotion in that first month. So yeah, now I'm over it, I'm more relaxed. I can talk a lot more sense of how
Yeah.
it really was.
Um, is it something that you saw coming? Was it expected? And I don't know. Did you agree? From the outside looking in, it's results wise, it's hard to argue with. But from your point of view, can you think I haven't really got a leg to stand on to a degree here anymore?
Uh, I've been in the game longer than most people. I've done nothing else but be in the game since 16. I know it's a result based business. Um, People said you deserve more time because of the history that I had at the club, but it doesn't mean anything at the time. Um, I thought we were really close. I thought we had some major unluck in terms of losing our captain first game,
Yeah.
losing Matt Preston second game, losing Jack Lambert the fourth game, losing Joe Leasley the sixth game. All these things are they kind of catapulted to our lack of form really, and it was a shame because I thought, oh God, how many games did we draw or lose by one? Where you think, God, it was a, a fraction away from winning it or drawing it. So listen, I sound like I'm being a bit bitter now. I'm not. I'm talking sense, and I think the people who were there could see that. And overall, results weren't good enough, and we moved on. I took the chairman. We had a really respectable chat, and sad to leave, but it was probably the right call from their point of view. Me and Jim believed we could change it round, and we would never stop trying. But listen, there's always a time in there, and that was it. I could smell it, I could hear it in the fans, and the loyalty and the love I had from people slowly winding away. And I just, yeah, it was not nice. It wasn't nice at the time,
Mm.
but I've learned a hell of a lot.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about what you've learned a little bit later on. Let's go back to the start of the season. Then promotion secured with that ridiculous run that got us through to the playoffs and that victory at Brackley. Celebrations over, hangover gone, and you've got a team to put together. What was your thought process as to what you needed in the National League? How big a change did you feel you had to make to the side?
I think we got blinded by the form of the 2 months prior. Um, in January, February, we sat down with Richard, me and Jim, and a couple of board members and said, what do we need to win promotion the following year? And we kind of laid down our foundation and said, right, let's have a good end to the season and we'll have a right go next year. That was the plan. That was the plan pre-Farsley. I remember exactly where we went for breakfast, and pre-Farsley, we talked over that. And I think we said at the end, we said about if we win the next 6 games, we will get in there, even though it wasn't mathematically, viable, and we had to rely on results. I knew we'd get in there with 6 wins. Did I expect to win 6 games? No, I didn't. so yeah, that's where we were, and I think we won it, and we won it with ease. Really, at the end, if you look back at the games,
Mm,
each game we were getting better and better. I've never been as confident as I was going into the Brackley game at the final, and I'm never like that. I'm usually very anxious, very stressful games. I was so comfortable. I knew where we were as a team, and I knew we'd win the game. And we were right. Recruitment, I thought was savvy. I thought was good. And listen, if we didn't have the injuries, it might have been. But we dropped a boo boo with Carl Morrison, and I think that was a wake up call. And I think if ever the club or I get promoted with whoever going forward, you've got to do your utmost to sign your best
mm,
players. And Carl Morrison was one of our best players at the time, and we lost him to 150 quid. Do you know what I mean? And
mm.
we all knew we needed him. But I think you're riding that wave, and you think, oh, you know what, we'll get someone else. We'll get someone else. And Matt Preston is as good, if not better, than Carl Morrison. But you got to keep Matt Preston
Mm.
fit, and that was the struggle with that and Knight Percival, and it was a shame, but that was one big learning curve.
Yeah, was that a case of just not getting pen to paper quick enough, allowing Solihull to come in, or was he always a bit reticent to sign as early as that and was looking elsewhere?
I think Solihull were talking to him while we were in the playoffs, which I thought was disrespectful, but it's happened. But when we got promoted, we had the best chance to sign him. Then he wanted a figure, and us as a club didn't want to go to that figure. When you look back at it 4 months later, when you know what everyone's getting paid at the level,
Yeah,
it wasn't a lot at all, really. And we've all learnt from that, really, now. And yeah, I won't talk about figures, but very doable for where we are.
yeah. How much pressure or how much added pressure is there when you get promoted via the playoffs? It's obviously 2, 3 weeks further down the line than everybody else, isn't it? And I've heard managers speak about getting promotion late and how that can impact your sort of your recruitment for the following season. I mean, it could equally have impacted you if we hadn't got promoted, I suppose, as well. So what is the pressure like on the back of having to do a job 3, 4 weeks later than everybody else?
No pressure. Let me tell you now, it was the best 12 weeks of my life going into the first game of the
Mm,
season, because whatever I touched, whatever I said was going to gold. You're everyone's hero for 3 months, aren't you? Until the first game of the season. So one thing we didn't do, we didn't have a break, which was stupid, but we were that excited. I
mm,
remember we had one day off after the Brackley game, and then we're back in on the Tuesday, me and Jim, recruiting, because it was the end of May, mid May, and we were ready to go again. So we never had a break, we never had a holiday, because we were so excited. So I think that was again naivety from our point of view. But in terms of you know stress and whatever, no, nothing at all. Enjoyed all pre-season. Loved the fixtures we had. Loved the players that we're bringing in, and very excited. And I think we showed in the first month we had full momentum. But in that momentum, we lost two major players, three if you could include Carl Morrison, not to re-signing.
yeah. What were you expecting from the National League? I think from a fan's point of view, given we've been out of it for what, eight years or so, I think certainly a lot of fans felt it was a lot tougher than they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. I think as we went on and I was learning, and when you're in the north, because it was my first job, we were that invested in the north because that was their best way of us getting out. I think we knew everyone, every player, every stat, every manager, like the back of our hand. When you go into a new league, you kind of fast forward in that in the 3 months, and you're learning new managers, budgets, how they train, how they travel, what they have, and it was just like the resources these teams had was league football. Everyone's having food every day. And bearing in mind, we weren't having any food. Everyone's having breakfast. Everyone's having lunch. They're paying this. They're paying that. They're having signing on fees. They've got digs. And it was just ridiculous. They're having stopovers every week. The magnitude was frightening. But I knew we could get there, but it would have to be there 2, 3 years down the line.
Mm.
So we were always playing catch up. I never thought we would be in any danger of getting relegated. But that's shown again my
Mm.
naivety to the level. Didn't disrespect the level, just naivety of probably the recruitment side of things.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that a couple of times. I mean, what made you feel, and you kind of touched on it, that I think a lot of the signings were retaining a lot of the promotion squad, wasn't it? Do you feel in hindsight that you probably retained too many and there probably wasn't enough fresh blood?
Yeah, yeah, I do because I think in January, February time, the year before we got promoted, we were ready to tear the place up. Do you know what I mean? And start again. So we got blinded by the form. I think everyone would have done, to be honest.
Yeah,
But also we signed a lot of players at step two, giving them the chance to go in step one. Your Jack Lamberts, your Kieran Phillips. Give me some other names. You know what? Oxlade Chamberlain,
yeah,
Reece McNally. Give them the opportunity to play at that level. And me included, weren't quite up to it at the time, and found a massive difference. But we only had what we could get as well. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we did go for good players and some big players, and we were just outmuscled by some of the wealth of some of the clubs.
Yeah, is it difficult to not to resist that temptation to overstretch yourself? You will have a budget, won't you? And I imagine it's quite a head scratching moment to try and if you've got a player who requests, I don't know, as you say, another 200 quid potentially, how that could impact the budget, and you've got to resist temptation, I suppose, to go down that route and shorten yourself the other side of things, I suppose.
Big time, and you got to understand when you get promoted, everyone who retains gets the promotion bonus. Now, that's not just a bonus or a one-off figure. The wages go up because they expect a bit more, and so they should. Everyone who gets promotion should have a wage increase. So, although the budget's gone up, the wages have gone up. So the
Yeah,
gap was still not, the bridge was still not massive. Everyone, yeah, okay, probably on £100 more a week. And every player we tried to get was roughly around the same kind of mould. But when you're comparing to some of the what some of the teams were paying, we were miles off some of them. Don't get me wrong, we had a bigger budget than a few teams, but we found it difficult. Found it difficult.
mm.
Probably overpaid a few players, and probably didn't recruit um, as good as we could have done. If I could change that, that would be my biggest thing.
Yeah. What would enable you to do that then? What, a bit more time or just simply a bit more
Yeah,
money?
I think a bit more time, probably a little bit more help. Me and Jim, that was it.
Yeah.
Chairman, bless him. He's the one who puts the money in and gives us the budget. But in terms of recruitment and players, me, Jim, and our chief scout, that was it. And
Mm.
if you think we're already 3 weeks behind most teams because we've got to the playoff final, I wouldn't say it was tough because we still had the pick of who we wanted to at the level, but I mean, for players coming out of the league and whatever,
Yeah.
we were always down there on most players' priority list.
I mean, how did you feel we started things then? I mean, we'll talk about the loss of Shane Byrne in the opening game in a moment, but so the first 4 games or so, it seemed pretty solid, I thought.
Yeah, I think that was our best part of the season,
Yeah.
to be honest. Apart from Phil's run, after I left, I think there was an excitement around the club. Woking that we should have won at home. Great crowd,
Mm.
fantastic 0-0. Going away to York and being really disciplined. Having the news that Shane's got to be out for 16 weeks minimum was a killer. Shane was our highest earner, captain at the time. Absolute killer. You can't replace that. Um, Foiled, equalised with 5 minutes to go. Sucker punch to concede at the end. So again, you get a point there. Great. But did we draw the next game at home?
Yeah, it's 3-0 wasn't it, to start with, I think, at home, wasn't it?
Maidenhead,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and then I think we went to Ebbsfleet the week after Penny got sent off and we got stuffed, and that knocked the stuffing out of us a little bit.
Yeah.
We were chasing our tail, so the rest is all a blur. To be honest,
Mm.
everything was coming so thick and fast. There was that many games at the start, and we were chasing. We had that many injuries, and yeah, it was it was an eye opener, but very enjoyable, mate.
Mm.
As fun as it sounds, it was enjoyable and it was a challenge.
Let's talk about Shane Byrne then. Just explain how difficult he is to replace and what do you lose when a player like that is out for at least 16 weeks?
Okay, so he's a major part of your budget. He's your captain. One thing with Shane is he's a great captain, but he's only a great captain when he's playing.
Yeah.
Okay. So when he's not playing, obviously, the psychological, mental sort comes into play. He has down days. There was no point in coming in for training for the first month because he couldn't bend his knee. He had to be bed bound. So then you don't just lose your captain on the pitch. You don't even see your captain. So then you're putting someone in place. We replaced him with Barry Maguire. No disrespect to Barry. I thought he tried his bollocks off, but at the end of the day, he wasn't up to the levels of where Shane was.
Mm.
But that's what we could get. We got Shane, even though he was our highest earner, he was cheap in terms of what the league was for
Yeah.
captain. Do you know what I mean? He probably would have been the lowest, second lowest paid captain in the league. So we could never replace him. And for a manager, he might have got us 4, 5, 6 more points at the start of the season, which would have kicked us on. But that's just where we are. That's how it is. It's unlucky. No one cares. You just got to crack on and try and replace him.
Yeah, and the somewhat ironic thing was that he was what back 2 games, I think, after you had gone,
Yeah,
which yeah,
yeah.
talk
Well,
about
we missed him the season before.
yeah,
He had a couple of injuries the season before. We missed him then, and there was always a reason why I wanted to sign him. We
yeah,
lacked that presence in the middle of the park for the last since we Crosdale,
yeah,
possibly a proper football in the middle of the park. So I knew what was needed, and I knew what we had to pay to get him in.
yeah. The lack of goals, that was a big factor, wasn't it, as well? It's been highlighted at the end of the season as well. How early did you feel that there was a problem in front of goal? And I know we sort of spoke after a couple of games about how difficult it had been for you to bring a striker in. So just tell me about when you started to realise that was the issue, and also how difficult it was to bring a forward in, because it was a long time, wasn't it, before Gold came in, and we'd had chats, and the exasperation in your face and in your voice just told me how difficult it was to bring a forward in.
Yeah, we wanted the season with. I knew what I wanted to play. I always wanted to play top front. I wanted to be brave going into the National League, and I don't think the form Morgs and Hemo were on at the end of the season was frightening. I used to call them York and Cole in the changing room. They were on top form, and I knew they'd continue that into the season. And to be fair, they did. They give everything for that football club, and I'm so glad they've stayed on. But I knew I wanted better than those two, and if we could have someone better than those two, what a front four that would be. But again, as the last 4 years, we've relied so heavily on them two. They've played every single game again this year. They get more criticism than anybody because they play every single week. But the stats are stats. They play every week. They're robust. They're fit as fuck. And they do everything. There's a reason why they're at the level. They don't hit the back of their net enough. But we never had the money to bring. I remember going for a striker in late July, really keen, and he was quite keen. We never even got past the first hurdle because we were miles away.
Yeah.
And this forward, Wilston were paying this forward that money, and it was like, oh my goodness me, we're miles away. So we
Mm.
thought, right, we'll go with what we got. We bought Jerry in to be a backup for Morgs, and we bought Pippin, Kieran, and to be a backup for Hemo, and try and challenge and take that league by storm. Overall, it was a poor 4-piece centre forward, really, in terms of
Mm.
goals, anyway.
Yeah.
And if you don't score goals, you're not going to get many points at that league. And I think that proved 1-0s, 0-0s, 1-1s. Couldn't quite get over the line, could
Mm.
we?
No, and as you said as well, trying to bring somebody in during the season as well up front. I know you said about players wanting promotion bonuses or some various different clauses, and it seems that the financial aspect is the big thing, rather than nobody wanting to come to a club who is fighting against a drop.
Oh, yeah, God. And the longer it went on, obviously it was harder to get. And this is what Richard will learn from as well. Like, if we knew where we were going to be or going up against, I think we probably would have got a bit more outside backing as well. Do you know what I mean? To say,
Yeah,
right, this is what we need to stay in this league because, it's got to be a massive sucker punch getting relegated first time because, the club needs to get back to where it should be. The club's big enough, but we weren't big enough mentally for that
yeah,
challenge in that league. All three of us, me, Jim, and Richard, that's all I put it down to because we were the ones who got us promoted and the ones who got us relegated. So, that's where I see it.
Yeah. And how was the relationship between you three during that? It's testing for everybody, I imagine.
Um, yeah, but we're always honest. We're all three of us were too honest at times. You know what I mean? And I think that's why we all liked each other. So no beef. As long as everyone says it how it is, I ain't
Yeah.
got a problem. It's when people don't say the right things or do things behind your back, I have a problem with. And in football, that always comes to the surface. So, 99% of the folk at Kiddy, I'm sound with.
Yeah. Was there a particular moment or a particular game where you really felt that we were in trouble? I think after the Dagenham home game, I remember speaking. Well, I think it was about 2 words. I think you were kind of off pretty quickly after that defeat, and I sort of not worried about you, but kind of thought it really is kind of having that kind of impact on you. Was that a moment when you thought the writing was on the wall in terms of the season potentially, or is there
Yeah,
another
possibly.
one?
I never ever thought I'd get sacked, to be honest. That's so. Some conversation we had were like, if we do go down, we'll try and go back straight back up.
Yeah.
I thought sometimes you look back and think, did I deserve that chance? Did I deserve what Paul Holleran's done to go down, built something at the club, hasn't quite worked, we're all to blame. All of a sudden he's jumped back up again because they've
Yeah.
stuck with it. Do you know what I mean? But fans are fickle. You get
Yeah.
forgotten about very, very quickly. I know it's result based, but fans will never, never know what we did behind the scenes. And I think you only know that when the next manager comes in and what they do and what doesn't happen and who's still there and the change around in the club. That 4 years will never be the same. You'll never get those 3 or 4 years in a long time again. I hope you do, but it takes, 10, 20 years apart. You get those moments. And I'm very proud I was part of that kind of that moment. Going back to your question, because I do go off a lot.
Don't
Uh,
worry.
Dagenham, yeah. And then we played well in quite a few games, but lost or drew. And I was always confident that it would turn. Do you know what I mean? So we lost to Dagenham. We were poor that day. So obviously I was down. Then we went to Maidenhead away. We lost 1-0, but we played well. We should have won. And then you think, right, okay, we're just that close. But again, we've picked up no points.
Mm.
And every week you weren't playing well and losing 1-0. And this is the knack that these teams had. They'd stay in games and they'd be organised. And we'd lose by that goal because we never had that potent striker just to
Yeah.
put the ball away.
Southend at home is the one that really niggles with me. Their goalkeeper just having a worldie. I think it was like
Yes.
three ridiculous saves in the space of what
What
five, ten
score was that
minutes.
again? 0-0.
2-1, wasn't it? Because I think
That's it. Yeah.
yeah, 2-1. I think it was 2-1. But yeah, their goalkeeper just had a worldie, didn't he? I think he saved a couple from Morgs and then another one as well. And then Boreham Wood at
Oh, away
home.
from home. Away from home. Or was it
Uh,
at home?
no, the Southend at home. I'm sorry, Southend at home was the one
Yeah,
where the
I've
goalkeeper
got
had a
you. I
worldie,
know. Yeah.
and then Boreham Wood at home as well, where I think Gold scored, didn't he? Jack Lambert hit the corner of crossbar and post.
Yeah.
Their goalkeepers had a worldie, and then we equalised at the end, and it's ruled out
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
inexplicably, and it's just
Yeah.
it's that bad luck and lack of fortune that you talk about.
Happens, mate. Happens.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's you can be organised, you can be structured, you can have a game plan, but those little moments have got to go your way. I know we went to Rochdale the week after that, my last game.
Mm.
Morgs 1-on-1, first minute, Jack Lambert, point blank shot, got saved. You go in 1-0, could be different. But listen, this is every game. You've got to do more than that to win games. So I understand that.
I don't want this podcast to be all negative, so we will we will talk about the good things, the good times as well shortly. Let's talk about when when you did lose your job. It was Rochdale away. It was a run of one win in just 13, and as you say, those early chances at Rochdale. I was at that game, and then stupid goal to give away, wasn't it? That just flew over
Yeah.
Dibble, and then another one, poor defending fairly shortly after that, and it felt pretty toxic in the away end after that. I don't know how much of that you were aware of. I know Shane came over and spoke to a few of the irate fans as well. Were you aware of what was going on, and what were your thoughts on the back of that final whistle?
Obviously disappointed first and foremost about the results. Listen, no one knows the club more than me because I'm in it. I was in the heart of it. I could feel the toxic. Yeah, I feel the pressure on me. I could feel the eyes burning down on me. But it didn't worry me. It's just when you've been in football all your career, you have so many downs, more downs than ups.
Mm.
So it doesn't affect me really. You try and be better and prove everybody wrong. It disappoints me when I look back now because it's not like any other profession, any other job that people want you out of your job or you can work so hard for. But this business is crazy. Last year there was 90 sackings in the football league and national league. What chance have we got?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always someone burning down your neck trying to take your job. So I get it. I was relieved when we had the conversation on the Sunday because I felt the time was I didn't lose the love, but I thought it might be the right time now. Both sides. It wasn't healthy what I was going through in terms of um, the way I was feeling because I put so much energy into everything we do, me and Jim. So it was a relief. I felt, we wished each other well, hugged it out, me and Richard, and that was it, mate. It was very
Mm.
professional and very quick.
I don't think too many people know sort of the mechanics of a sacking. So if you don't mind talking us through that, was it a call from Richard Sunday morning saying we need to have a chat, or was it a text message saying we need to sort something in the morning? How did it work?
Exactly that, mate.
Yeah.
Quick call. Can we meet up? I obviously know. We meet up. We shake hands. 5 minute debrief. I didn't argue my case. I probably could have if I was a little bit more. I wouldn't say healthy, but if I was a
Less
bit more
worn down, I would say.
less worn down,
Yeah.
I probably would have argued my case a little bit more if you give me a week. But I think it was very raw on the Sunday still, and I think I wouldn't say it was rash. I think it was really hard for Richard as well, to be honest. Um, Listen, if Richard could choose now, I know he'd still have me in charge, fighting to get promoted
Mm.
because of the relationship we had. But he had to be seen to be changed. Something he leads the post, and that's it. And I respect that.
Yeah. And obviously you had time left on your contract, didn't you, as well? So how soon after the news do you sort of then start talking payoffs and whatnot? I don't know. Obviously, I'm keen to just know how it works. Do you leave it a couple of days? Is it done there and then? Does Richard put an offer to you? You say yes, you say no. How does it work?
Yeah, listen, we're all professional, and we have contracts for a reason. Me and Jimmy aren't stupid. We've been brought up. We've always had agents, so um, we were very respectful. So were they, and it was done within 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. That's and it all amicable, which is I think probably
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of the most
and,
important things,
and
isn't it?
and I knew it wouldn't have gone any different because it couldn't do. You know, don't get me wrong, we aren't millionaires coming out of it, and Richard hasn't lost too much money, but
Yeah.
that's the way it is. It's you've got to look after yourself in football because these conversations are just around the corner.
Yeah. And what do you do then? Do you switch off completely? Do you kind of try and keep the club out of thoughts and just look after yourself, I suppose?
So
Do
yeah,
you do
the,
that?
the next 2 days, your phone don't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone, loads of sympathy, loads of empathy, loads of um, wish you well. People backing you shouldn't have gone. Fans, real good fans. Yourself. I didn't realise how many fans were on my side. Well, I did, but then you don't hear them. Do you know what I mean? So you get
It's
the
the
loud.
it's a vocal minority, isn't it? That's the phrase.
Yes, you had the minority who were louder than everybody else, louder than the majority.
Yeah.
But the amount I had, and I'm not joking, everyone bar one, two of the club staff rang me, not text me, rang me, which I thought was great.
Yeah. So I always wonder when managers. I spoke to Steve Burr about this when he got the boot, and then we went up and beat Peterborough and sort of set up that FA Cup game against Sunderland, and how he felt about that. How were you feeling on the back of Phil Brown coming in and him winning four on the spin? I always imagine how difficult that must be for a manager who's lost their job, but you,
Um,
who is as close to the club as you are, want us to do well.
Harder for my family because they don't feel like I feel, if you know what I mean. I've
Yeah.
had that many like rejections when you were 10, 11, 12. That scar you. Then
Mm.
you go up to 15, 16, you get released at 19. I've had that many rejections. It hurt them more. They took it to
Yeah.
heart. They were at every home game. My mum and dad went to most away games, so it hurt them more. I wasn't bothered. I thought the more they win, the less flack I get. That's how I
Yeah.
felt.
Mm.
Plus, he was basically playing the same team as we were playing. So it was like, fucking hell. Cheers,
But
lads.
that's exactly what I mean. You must be scratching your head going, why now?
But I've got to be honest, that January month has been one of the best months I've had in my 20 years of football, just switching off.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a game. I was doing the garden. I was doing bits and bobs. I was going for coffee with people. I was seeing my mum and dad all the time, taking the wife out, cooking tea. Oh, man, it was lovely
Yeah.
for a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I started scratching my head again. And then I think I need to start going to games a bit. But no, I really enjoyed that. And I felt healthier. I went on a bit of a health kick. And it was great, really good. But of
Mm.
course, you in the background, you hear things and everyone still rings you. You're still on social media, obviously. And that's the way the world is.
Mm. How much does management consume sort of your life? I imagine is it like the first thing you think of when you wake up kind of thing? The last thing you think of when you go to sleep? Team selections? I'd imagine it's got to be
My
99% in your
wife would
thoughts.
tell you, 100%. I
Yeah.
would argue, I'd say it was 99.
Yeah.
It's you don't realise till you come out, and you only have to listen to your David Moyes, your Steve Bruce, your Eddie Howe podcast. They're all the same.
Yeah.
If you're going to be the best, you've got to invest everything into it. There's your phone rings at 10 o'clock. There's an agent. The chairman rings you at 9:30. He wants to tie something up. Never stops, mate. And one thing I have learned, and I will learn when I get back to the levels again, you've got to have. We had some real good staff. What we had, but they were all part time.
Yeah.
They were all part time. And that's another thing we were massively underestimated going into the new league. Only me and Jim and the physio were full time. And that's 3 days a week. You ain't got no staff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you're trying to beat Chesterfield and all these other clubs who are having a right go. But listen, hey, it's just another excuse, but a valid one, I think.
Yeah. We'll look back at your time with us in a moment, but a couple of weeks after you left us, the Hales Owen opportunity came up. I think a lot of fans were surprised actually to see you take that job purely because of where Hales Owen are. There were other jobs. I think York had come up. I think probably maybe the day before. I think you were announced at Hales Owen and various other opportunities. So, what made you take the Hales Owen job, and what is it about it that excites you? I've seen some of the club media interviews that you've done, so it seems like it's somewhere that you're very happy to be.
Yeah, it's perfect for where I am now. And I speak on behalf of Jim as well. We had some offers in January, offers that didn't excite us. Um, and then you were in the final three of certain other jobs, final two in one
Yeah.
job. Then you didn't get it. And then it was like, right, am I going to have this rat race for the next 6, 9, 12
Mm.
months? That's not me. Do you know what I mean? Howzone rang me, a club very close to my heart. Know the club well. Was it the level two low I thought for myself? That's not me being
Yeah.
disrespectful. I just got promoted to step one. So I thought, right, minimum step two, that's what I'll go for. But that takes time. And then you're kind of waiting, saying, right, he might get the sack next week. Horrible, horrible
Yeah.
thing to think of because these are my friends, but he might lose his job. Do you hear that? And then you hear it, and then there's already someone lined up. So I got taught bit of great advice from an old manager of mine: don't ever disrespect any job offer. Go and see them. So everyone that wanted me, I went to see them. And when I met Keith McKenna at Alzo, it was perfect for me. It's down the road. Got my life back. Can set up my little things on the side that I'm doing now with Jim. See my family. Take my kids to school every day. Perfect,
Yeah.
Nick. Will I feel the same in 6 months, 12 months time? God knows. I'm hoping I'm top of the league of Alzo in 12 months. That's what I'm hoping for. But no, I'm delighted, and I'm as excited now as I was with Kiddy. I really am. Feel I've got the juices flowing again.
Yeah. Does that mean that full-time management is less on the sort of ambition scale, if you like, if you feel like the part-time element is more suited maybe to the sort of work-life balance?
No, because my life's football. There's not many full-time football clubs in the level above step two. So realistically, what is my next job? I think I've got to prove myself at Alzheimer again now, and if I do, I think my name will be back where I want it to be. But listen, I'm not thinking about anything like that in the future. I
Mm.
just want to. I'm enjoying my life now. I feel healthy, feel fit, and I'm 38. I'm 38 with two playoffs, one winners, and a fantastic FA Cup run in 3 years. So I think my CV speaks for itself, but not entertaining anything else at the moment, rather than full focus on our
Yeah.
zone.
And Jimmy not with you at Hale Zone, which I think surprised a few people.
Yeah, Jimmy's just he's gone down a different path, and I'm fully respectful of that. And I think we both had enough after Kiddy. We both had enough, and but they come to that point, that 3, 4, 5 week period where you're thinking, right, which direction are we going now? Because you overthink things. Unfortunately for us, we haven't got £1 million in the bank that we can sit there and wait for the perfect job. So you've got to start thinking, and then people get in your head, and there's other things. And Jimmy's gone down that route now, and what route he's gone down, and but we're working together on the other side of
Yeah.
things, which is really going really well. So, oh, listen, family, really close, and me and Jim, he rang me an hour ago. He said, "Why hasn't he had the invite to come on?" I said, talking to the main man. That's why, Jim.
Well, I'm gonna see what you say first, and I'll put it to him afterwards. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. But as you say, you are working together, aren't you? The Footballers Academy, I think, if I've got that right. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we started we had a little proposition, which was always in the back of my mind. I wanted to start it up at York 5 years ago. But then I signed for Kiddy and moved down, and the rest speaks for itself. But yeah, we want to be a development academy program, which is in between grassroots and academy football, which I don't think there's any in between at the moment. Grassroots is basically run by volunteers and parents, which is fantastic, but no disrespect. The parents, 9 times out of 10, are volunteers and just fans, really, who give their time to support the kids playing grassroots. Then you've got the academy, the absolute elite, the best players, the best coaches. There's nothing in between. So all
Yeah.
these ones that are really close, where do they go? So that's the kind of niche market we're looking at. We've done 2 summer camps, which we've sold out both for. And then we're going to start a thing every Friday night going from September. So it's been great. And we've got a lot of backing from footballers, fans, sponsors. Because I think they still, put me and Jim in quite high regard,
Yeah.
really, of where we are, and we're both very young, and we're giving it a right go at this as well.
Mm. And you've had your first week. How was it?
Knackering, mate. I've never felt so tired in my life, but I think that's because we've got so much energy. That's what me and Jim bring. To be fair, we give full 100% energy, and I think that's what people like.
Let's talk about or look at as a whole. Then, as you say, the 3+ years of your time with
Yep.
us. Favorite moments that you had during your time? I know promotion probably the obvious answer. Um, for you, that will be it. I imagine if you take promotion out of it as the obvious answer, what
Yeah,
will be
but
the
that was
second
that
one?
wasn't my favourite
Oh,
moment, Nick.
okay.
Listen, it is for everyone because promotions don't come round very often.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My favourite spell at the football club was that 4 month spell from October to February of the cup run.
Yeah.
I think we went 17 games unbeaten. We were whitewashing teams. We had an unbelievable squad. We were we beat Grimsby, Halifax, Reading, and then in between all those, we were blitzing teams in the league. That was the best spell ever.
Yeah.
Honestly, the fans at the time and the crowd and the Harriers arms, the board, I've never felt anything like it in probably all my career. The vibe we were getting was amazing. You
Yeah.
you must have seen that and felt that. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah. Oh,
something
completely.
special.
Yeah, well, I was a couple of 100 miles away, but I was still buzzing every time. Every time we were in action, I think I looked the other week actually of Sam Austin's volley at home to Hereford, and just the noise of the crowd when that goal went in.
Yeah,
That just sort of, I think, exemplifies
every
what
home
that squad's like.
game was 3,500. We had Sam Austin through an absolute unbelievable purple patch. We had a back three of Camo, Preston, Bajrami. You had Super Mark Carrington. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Some proper players in there, mate. Emo, Folksy, Simo in goal. Real good people. Real good time to be at the club. that team was better than the team that got promoted.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like you said, a little bit of luck goes your way, and you get promoted through other ways and none.
Yeah, that's one of the questions that came in actually was about that sort of playoff disappointment in the end for that season. Does that kind of basically pin on the fact that Sam Austin was unavailable and how disappointing was it to go out to Boston after what had been such a spectacular season?
It was a shame. It was a shame. Obviously, again, you lose your captain for a major game. He wasn't just a captain; he was probably the best player in the league at the time. Hence why we knew we weren't keeping him. I think we tired. We tired off, didn't
Yeah,
we? We really did. The last month, because we were in the playoffs so early, we limped.
yeah,
We limped through it. Tried to rest players. Tried to keep players fresh. And then Boston did a bit of us the year after. Really, they went full steam ahead, and Coxey come in, and they were comfortable winners on the night. I thought they were comfortable winners on
yeah.
the night. Really, and they were unfortunate not to go up.
Best player that you've had in the squad, in the squad during your time. So it doesn't necessarily be someone that you've signed. It could have been somebody that you inherited. Who was top of the tree for you?
The best player I thought where he was in the purple patch, like I said, was Sam Austin. We played him at right back to start. When he come as a right back, he played
Mm.
right back under all these managers. But in training, he used to take the piss, Nick. And I think, what? He's too good to be a right back. Let's put him in midfield
Mm.
because for the players, the level, he could run rings around him. And that was it. His confidence went through, bang. Um, we sold him for a bit of money. Should have got more, but he was on a release clause.
Yeah,
Definitely worth more. And, he's a fully fledged league player now, mate. But he was excellent. I think Bajrami, in fit, too good for the level. And,
yeah,
we got him through a little bit of luck. And you know what? I'm going to say Ashley Hemmings, mate. He's just gold dust. Gold
mm.
dust to me. 180 games, 110 goals. That is some achievement, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, so those would be the pick of my bunch, really.
yeah. Slightly different. Most
Hey,
important.
I forgot one.
Go on.
Keith,
Oh, of
come
course.
on, Keith. Big
The
Keith,
the evergreen Keith Lowe. The evergreen Keith.
super.
This one's slightly different then. It's most important signing. So maybe not the best player, but the right signing at the right time. I have one suggestion, but I'll let you do yours first.
Most important signing. Really good question. I think Mark Carrington was a really important signing. I think Shane Byrne was a really important signing to get us promoted. I said to the chairman, I think this player can get us promoted. I ended up being proved right.
Yeah.
Um, so I'd say those two, really,
Mm.
mate. Yeah.
Mine
Go
was
on.
going to be mine was going to be Carl Morrison purely for arriving
Yes.
at the time for that run that we had.
But he was a cluster of things that happened though at that time, Nick. He was one of four things. I always say this: Joe Leasley coming back to full fitness, Ashley Hemmings being moved up front,
Yeah.
Dibble, and Kyle Morrison.
Yeah.
All those happened in the space of 10 days, and I just think it catapulted us to where we needed to be. We had all of a sudden we had our strongest midfield of Zach Brown, Joe Leasley, Shane Byrne, Emo and Morgs unplayable up top. And then you don't get much stronger back threes than Penny, Pearce, and Morrison, do you?
No.
With a rock behind them. And then probably the two best wing backs in the league at the time, Richards and Folksy. I thought that was an
Yeah.
excellent team.
Um. Well, favorite goal. Obviously, there'll have been so many that you'll have managed over. Is there one or two that stand out?
Yes, there's some cracking ones. Amari Sterling didn't score no
Yeah.
clap anybody. I thought a really good goal was Ethan Fremantle Farsley at
Yeah.
home when we were struggling. We just beat Reading, and I knew we were going to have that hangover on the Tuesday. And we were 1-0 down, and he come up with a little bit of magic, and we won that game 2-1 that night. I thought that was a really good goal. I can't think off the top of my head, Nick. Sam Austin scored some bangers, didn't he? Mark
Yeah.
Carrington, Chester.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so no, Lewis Montrose Gates said away. I remember that. Remember he's kind of elbowed it in on the
Oh
line,
yeah.
and
The last
he's
one.
ran off as if he scored a 30-yard screamer. Um, God, that seems millions of years ago
Mm.
now.
Yeah.
He was the start of it, Lewis Montrose. He was the big marquee sign at the start of that year after COVID. big presence, big captain. Yes, coming to the end of his career, but my God, what a leader! What a leader!
Yeah. Penny against West Ham, obviously for the stature of it for me. Sammy away at Gloucester was just ridiculous, wasn't it?
Oh,
Just
yeah,
I just wish that I'd been at home. That would have just been the roof would have
yeah.
just come off the place, wouldn't it?
But we took a fair few, didn't we, that day?
Yeah, yeah,
Took a fair few. Morgs against Reading, on the line, Croy,
yeah.
whatever it was, just put
Yeah.
in typical Morgs' goal. Yeah, had some crackers, mate.
So amongst the questions that have come in, this one's pretty good. It says, "Does Russ ever have a dream where a kiddie defender just flattens Declan Rice outside the area and takes a red?"
Honestly, I could blame four players for not doing that at the
Yeah,
time. I get a lot of questions. Why did you take Sammy off? Why did you make so many changes? Can I just say one thing? When you're playing against a Premier League team, you don't realise how tired and exhausted you are. And Sam Austin was running on empty on
yeah,
75 and got asked to bring off. He couldn't move, cramping up in both calves. But still, Devontae Redmond should have brought him down. Baz Rama should have brought him down. Matt Preston should have turned his back.
yeah.
Oh, man, when you look at it now, you think, come on, lads. They were never going to score. I
No,
couldn't see them scoring. And even in extra time, they never looked like scoring again.
no.
So gutted, man. Because when I look back, we would have broke history records then.
Oh, completely. Yeah, yeah,
But listen, it's all part of it, mate, and people remember it.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. Well, it's the best day of many people's lives, isn't it? That's what
Yeah.
a lot, that's why I think a lot of the a lot of the warm wishes towards you have come from because you've created great.
The biggest thing for me, we won the next three games after West Ham,
Yeah.
which people seem to forget about because everyone went, oh, it all changed at West Ham. No, we won the next three.
Mm.
Went to Telford away, we took 1100 in the away end. That was like Galatasaray with the flares behind the goal. And then we beat Boston or Hereford at home on the Tuesday night. No, sorry, we beat Hereford at
Yeah,
home on the Tuesday 3-0. Then unfortunately, Matty broke his leg, and that was the start of it. To be fair, the
yeah.
Matty at Preston, because that took a lot out of everyone. Really, very sad,
Mm.
and still holds a little bit of that now. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Some of the questions coming in from people. Did your experience in the final season of Harriers change your view of football? Did it sort of see you lose a bit of love for it?
No, no, never love. I think you have to have these emotions. You've got to taste defeat to feel the love of victories. Never lose love of football, mate. I can't. It's my life.
Yeah,
I can't feel the way I feel now at step three if I don't love football. Do you
yeah,
know what I mean? You don't like it at the time and it's not nice, but you're always a day away from feeling back on it again.
yeah,
I can change this. I've got time to do this. I'm still in charge for another game, so I'm going to do this. Um, One thing I've learned: surround yourself with good people.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've just thought of this one now. I didn't write it down. This what is more fulfilling, playing for Harriers or managing the club?
Felt great honour in managing. I felt you were top of the tree. I felt big pride, and I felt yeah, I did like that feeling, but you can't beat playing, mate. You can't
Yeah,
beat playing. Honestly, scoring a goal, you can't beat that feeling.
yeah,
Your Northwiches away, which get you to Wembley, and those cup runs and whatever. Playing all day, mate. Playing all day. Wish I could
yeah.
do it again. And
Don't we
it's
all?
sad, really, because this is when it comes to an end. You're classed as a legend because you're there, but then when you're gone, it's like you're a little bit of a failure. Even though I'm not a failure, I know I'm not. But 200 games, 175 manager games, you don't get a lot of those around here.
No.
Because it ended like it did, and you didn't get to say bye or whatever. I'm not one for putting tweets out because I think it's bitter, whatever. So that's the only thing I regret.
Would you ever go back if the job was offered to you? I know it's this a never say never always the answers to this sort of question, aren't they? I suppose.
Who knows, mate? Who
Yeah,
knows? Listen, I always I don't fall out of anybody anyway. I've got no enemies. Few people rub me up the wrong way, but that's life. Um, Listen, I think Richard's a very good chairman. He's got a lot to learn still. So have we. But he wouldn't believe the first 3 years he's had in charge.
Mm.
Um, it'd be a chairman's dream. Obviously, the relegation is dampened that a little bit, but I don't think he would have changed it, mate, for anything.
Yeah. If you could change one thing about your management time in charge, what would it be?
Push Richard harder in the off season last year for demands that we needed, that he knew we needed, and accepted it when Phil come in because he's probably been at a higher level, and you respect it a little bit more. Things like food, travel, just putting a little bit more money, not of his own money, just into places that probably needed it a little bit more,
Yeah.
and go all out for a striker, mate.
Yes. Well, they're gold dust, aren't they?
Yeah,
They cost the big bucks, don't they? Unfortunately.
they do.
What last question in terms of sort of probing, if you like. What's the biggest thing that you've learnt from your time with us? Your first managerial job. Obviously, you've got a big future ahead as well. What's the biggest takeaway from your time in charge with us? What that you've
I feel on reflection that I haven't lost track of how good me and Jimmy are as coaching staff and managers and assistant manager. Thought we did a fantastic job. Our win ratio is very good. Um, we made mistakes, of course we do. We're novices to the game. Um, but yeah, the belief's still there, mate. I think we were learning on the go. That's what we did. Never had time to reflect. Never had enough board meetings because Richard wasn't a football man either. He was learning. So all of this happened while we're all three new at the job. Richard new to chairman, me and Jim new to manager roles. So um, I think full on energy got us to where we needed to get to in those 3 years, and then a little bit of naivety and inexperience got us to where we are now.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans that I speak to have that concern that there aren't enough football people at the club behind the management team or whoever. Richard is, he's put in as much money as he has, and he's doing a good job. But beyond, or even him, obviously, as you say, he's not a football man. And you look at the list of board members, and it is him, isn't it? Bar maybe a finance element side of thing. I know Dean Holsworth's in now, but in terms of the actual football infrastructure behind you, did you feel that was lacking at the time as well?
In the National North, no, because I think a management team and a good chairman is more than enough.
Yeah,
The conference is just a different level. It's a League Three for me,
yeah.
and you can see now the structure of each club, the pyramids that they work to now, it's just growing, and we were way out of our depth off the field. Not financially, I don't mean that by any shape or form, but the way the club was run. I think Paul Biggerstaff commercial, good. But again, we're going into a monster league there, and we're just behind on everything,
Mm.
and also playing catch up at the same time.
Yeah, which is interesting as well because I know so many people have spoken about the training facilities that are available that were available to you. The size of the training ground, the number of pitches that were there. The academy seems to be doing really well as well. That's frustrating, I suppose, more than anything else.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's it's league worthy,
Hmm.
league worthy. It's you still only train for 2 hours a day. So whether you've got 25 pitches or one
Yeah.
pitch, they weren't the priorities when I look back now of how you should be run. Um, we did everything we could. And listen, we tried to be as professional as what me and Jim know. Um, and we just weren't good enough.
Yeah, which is so frustrating because
We were good enough, but we didn't show that because the lads showed they were good enough in spells. But I prove, I measure good enough over the season.
And have you been back to Aggborough? I know obviously you've been the Hell's Owen job, so I imagine you haven't been able to. But would you be happily rocking up to a game next
I
season?
went back 2 weeks ago for my daughter's presentation for Kidderminster Lions. Saw the bar staff, and that was it, mate. It'd be hard to go back because of the time I've got. We all play on
Yeah,
Saturdays and Tuesdays, but yeah, I've got no problem going back. I saw Richard down the village the other day, hugged it out, had a good chat. How are you? Family okay? Blah blah blah.
yeah.
Fine, mate. Matty Paddock texts me, Paul Biggerstaff rings me, Helen rings me. All good, mate. like I
Good.
said, I fell out with nobody. It's just one of those things, disappointing that you move on, and it's just done like that.
Mm. Yep, and I think that's the phrase out of all the chats I've had with you and with Jimmy is that's football, isn't it? That's that's kind of
Yeah, hate
the
the
two
saying,
are,
but it is because it
yeah,
doesn't surprise anybody, does it? So, uh,
yeah. Last one then. You said there about not putting a message out to fans or whatever. If this is your opportunity, if you like, what would you like to say to those supporters? Because you say you didn't have that chance to sort of say farewell or thanks or whatever you want to say.
yeah, listen, I'll always say thanks. That they, I think I got the club back for them. Me and Jim did. I think the 4 years, the 3 years especially, were amazing. And in fact, I'm enjoying those 3 years in my memory now more than when I was in the job.
Yeah,
Reflect a bit more. People talk to you, and people still haven't forgot those memories. So there'd be some people that I used to go up in the Aggborough Street in the Arms a lot, and I probably won't. Sad to say, I might not see some of those again. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Whether I don't go up to the games, whether I'm busy, whether we miss cross paths, whatever. And that's a shame because there was a nucleus and there was a core of people that I saw 2 or 3 times a week. To all of a sudden, I don't see at all.
mm,
I haven't spoken to them since I've left, and it's sad. But no, listen, I had great times. We had some great memories. Got a promotion out, got a fantastic FA Cup run. Feel I was part of the growing of the club, the training ground, the facilities, what we brought, the professional side of things. But everyone has the time,
yeah.
and that was my time. And I think down the line, it will go down as a successful time.
Yeah, well, I think all those fans who've got their sensible heads on will completely agree with that. I think it was really I was gutted when it happened. I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth when it flashed up on the on Twitter. It was about 10:30, wasn't it, on a Sunday night? I think it kind of got released in the end, and it was rubbish. It was rubbish from my point of view because obviously I've got a huge respect for you and Jimmy, so. That was a tough time, and obviously with the relegation as well, it was just a pretty shitty sort of season in the end.
Well, Phil got him relegated, not me. All right.
Well, for those listening, there is a big smile on Russ's face. It's you can't see his face. It's very much tongue in cheek. Very much tongue in cheek. Russ, thank you for doing this. Thank you for the 3+ years and the memories and all the good times and just bringing, today, like I say, memories that will last a lifetime to people. And as I say, when I put out the question to ask questions to you, everyone said first of all, wish him all the best. Thank you for all of his efforts. Thanks for all the memories. All that's repeated over and over from all the
No,
people.
that's great. And that means a lot. That means a lot. Because, like I said, I'm not one to post on Twitter to get replies back. I'm not one for that. I know what I've done, and I know I speak to a lot of fans and whatever. So that's great. It's good to hear. And, you know, we'll definitely meet again soon. Maybe a cut run next year. I was over some kid. That'd be tasty, wouldn't it? A few handbags thrown there that day, I
Yeah.
tell you. So no, looking forward to it, mate. And like I said, we've all gone our different paths, but everyone's healthy and happy. So happy days.